Hello students, welcome, and in this lecture of definite integration we are going to study two fundamental theorem of calculus. First fundamental theorem of calculus and second fundamental theorem of calculus. So by now we have understood what definite integration means. This is if we take a function f(x) and we integrate it from a to b. For now let us suppose f(x) is a function which is positive. So we are taking the graph above the x axis. So this is a function like this, and we are taking it above the x axis. So this is the function. We are taking from a ordinate to b ordinate. So the area which it includes is actually this area. Now if I will say that instead of taking this value, that is a to b f(x) dx, which is a fixed value, that is fb minus fa, and capital F is the integral of the small f. So we put the limits and get a value, some value in terms of a and b. Now instead of taking a fixed value, if we want to say that let us write an area function. So what does that area function mean? So I am drawing the same function f(x) here, this f(x) graph, and instead of taking the integration from a to b, a is actually this and b is this, I am taking a value x which is between a and b somewhere. So let us suppose x is here and this is varying from a to b, this x can move anywhere. So if we take this x and we draw this ordinate and this area, so what would be this area now? So we can say that this area a is equal to integral a to x, not a to b, instead a to x, and f(x) dx. So few things we have to understand here. First of all, this a is a function of x, because this x can move from here to here, x belongs to a to b anywhere. So we say that a is actually a function of x, and we can say that this ax is called area function. Now the point which is important here is that this x should not be get confused with this x. These two x are different. This x is the variable of integration which has no role in the final answer, but this x will come in the final answer because this is whose function is the area function. So instead of writing this like this, it is a little confusing here. We can write this area function in another form also, that is basically ax is equal to a to x, and since we know that in case of an integration the variable of integration can be anything in case of definite integration, because eventually that does not come. So if we say f(x) dx, instead of we take x, we can take any variable. So let us take t, ft dt. So this is a better way which will avoid confusion between x and t. Now what will happen? If you integrate this small ft, you will get a capital Ft. This is a capital Ft which is its integration, and you will put the limits a and b. So when you will put the limits a and b, not a and b, a and x obviously, because here upper limit is x. So you will get f(x) minus fa, which is area function ax. This is nothing but area function ax. So students, here this is a function of x and this is a value which is not function of any variable. So we say that this ax is actually area function. Finally t does not come in the picture. So as we are taking x here also, instead of taking x and x both ways, we take this as any other variable of integration, and this x is actually the variable whose function is the area function, and this x actually belongs, this x, from a to b. If x is equal to a, this comes here, then area will be 0, and if x will come here, then it is b, then in that case fb minus fa will be the answer. So this x is moving, it can be somewhere in between, anywhere. So this basically is the introduction of definite integration. This is how we introduce definite integration and a area function. Now the point which I have to tell in first fundamental theorem of calculus, let us come to that. That point says that if we have a area function, let us say Ax is equal to a to x ft dt, then the first fundamental theorem of calculus says that if we differentiate the area function, if we differentiate Ax is this one, if we differentiate it a dash x, what do we get? We eventually get f of x, this integrand, but not t, putting x here. Why do we write this? Just we have seen here that area function after evaluation is equal to fx minus fa. Here it is capital Fx, that is the integral of a small fx. So if we differentiate this, let us suppose we are differentiating this. So what will happen? This will give you a dash x, and on the right hand side what we will get? We will get here f dash x, and this will be obviously 0 because it is a constant. So its differentiation will be 0. Now we know that when we did the integration, we integrated a small ft to capital Ft. This was the integral of this. So if we differentiate this, we should get this. So if we differentiate fx, capital Fx, we should get a small fx. So derivative of capital Fx is a small fx, and integral of a small ft is capital Ft. So variable retains as it is available. So we can say that a dash x is equal to fx, as we called it as a first fundamental theorem of calculus. One thing which you have to note here is that this function fx is continuous in a comma b. If it is not continuous, then we cannot do it like this. Is continuous in a comma b. For discontinuous function we cannot write like this. Okay, students. So this is the first fundamental theorem of calculus. Now let us see an example, a very simple example, which actually explains us the application of first fundamental theorem of calculus. So let us suppose that the integrand here is sine cube x. So we have sine cube x, and we have to integrate it from pi by 2 to x. So this is an area function in terms of x. If in case it is written like this, so avoid confusion, you can write it on your own like this, pi by 2 to x sine cube t dt, because this area of this variable, this is variable of integration, it can be anything. It can be x, it can be t, it can be u, z, as we studied in previous lectures. So you can replace it here, but this limit you cannot change because this is whose function is this. So you write it like this, even if it is given in question like this. Now if you have been asked what is a dash x, so what you know? You know that this is actually ft, small ft, and when you differentiate this, you get x in place of t, and you get sine cube x. That is it. That is your answer. That is a dash x is equal to f of x. This is f of t. Right, students? So this was a constant. This was a variable of the variable between a and b, which is changing its position. So this is area function. Now we will come to second fundamental theorem of calculus, and few things we have to remember there also. So when we say second fundamental theorem of calculus, first of all we know already, as we studied in previous lecture, that if we integrate a function fx from a to b, both are constants, what do we get? We get its integral fx, and then we put the upper limit and then we put the lower limit, that is fb minus fa. So why don't the constant of integration come there? Because even if we take a constant of integration, let us suppose fx is integrated to give fx plus c, and then we put the limit a and b, what will happen? After putting b as the upper limit of x, we will find fb plus c minus lower limit will be fa, and this will be minus c. The lower limit has to be subtracted. So with this c will eventually cancel, you will get fb minus fa. Here again you have to keep this in mind, that this function fx this fx function has to be continuous in a comma b for x belonging to a comma b. Further, it has to be also well defined. Okay, this has to be also well defined, continuous and well defined in a comma b. Then only you can do this, and this is nothing but second fundamental theorem of calculus. So we call it second fundamental theorem of calculus, and we write it like this. So let us take an example. Then you have to guess whether we can find it or we cannot find it. So I am taking a function, let us suppose f of t is equal to x, or let us take t square minus 1 to the power 3 by 2, right. Now what I am doing, I am integrating this from 2 to 3 ft dt. Can we do that? Yes, here we can do that. There is no problem with that, because from 2 to 3, when t belongs to 2 comma 3, we can say that this function, this is ft, which is this, is well defined and continuous. So if we put a value from 2 to 3 in place of t, here we will see that this is well defined and continuous. But instead of this, if we do a small change, what do we say? This is to be integrated from minus 2 to 3. So this is minus 2. So if we take minus 2 to 3, in that case, can we integrate it? Is this the function continuous and well defined? No. Why it is so? Because when t is from minus 2 to 3, there is an interval here which is actually minus 1 to 1. This particular interval, minus 1 to 1 open interval. So this interval is a part of minus 2 to 3. And what this interval does is that this particular t square minus 1 to the power 3 by 2, here if we take any value t belonging to minus 1 comma 1, this t square minus 1 will be less than 0. It will be a negative value. You can see easily any value from minus 1 to 1 when substituted here will give a value less than 1 after squaring, and then subtracting 1 you will get a negative value. So if this is a negative value, in that case t square minus 1 to the power 3 by 2 is actually an imaginary number. It is not a real number. So we will say that it is not defined, because here under root is there. So under root of negative is not a real number. So you cannot integrate this. So here fx, you can say ft here, is not well defined in the interval from minus 2 to 3. Okay, there is a portion there minus 1 to 1 where it is not defined. So here we cannot do the integration. Now let us take few examples where we can understand how to do the how to apply the second fundamental theorem. So first question, let us suppose, is integral of sine cube 2t into cos 2t from 0 to pi by 4, let us suppose. We have to find it, the value of this. How can we proceed here? So there are again two ways. I will tell both the ways to you. So firstly, first method, when we see, what we do a substitution. Why do a substitution? As it is seen here, sine derivative is cos. So if we take sine 2t as suppose u, what will happen? Its derivative will be 2 cos 2t and dt is equal to du. So you can write this integral as sine cube 2t is u cube and cos 2t dt is du upon 2. Right, students? Now what will happen to the limits? So there are two ways, that is what I was saying, there are two methods. So first let us not change the limit. Okay. So after integrating this, you will get 2u to the power 4 upon 4, 4 into 2 will be 8. And then further you will back substitute u as sine 2t. As you have substituted sine 2t as u, you will have to back substitute. So sine 2t to the power 4 upon 8. right. Now you can put the limit 0 to pi by 4 because now it is in its function of t original form, not a function of u. So you can put this as 0 and this as pi by 4. So when you will put pi by 4 here, it will become sine of pi by 2, which is 1, and 1 to the power 4 is 1. You will get finally 1 by 8 minus, if you put 0 here, this will become sine 0, and sine 0 is 0. So this whole term will be 0. So minus 0. Eventually you get 1 by 8 as the answer. Now what is the another way? So that another way says, if we talk about the second method, that says that when we are substituting, instead of further back substituting, we change the limits. So we could have also done here like this. So if you see here that this is integral sine 2t has been replaced as u, so u cube, and cos 2t dt has been replaced by 1 by 2 du. Now what will happen to the limits? Limit is 0 to pi by 4, right? Now we have to change that limit according to our new variable. So if we know u is equal to sine 2t, and if our variable were 0, the value of the sine 2 u, this substitution u is equal to sine 2t, we had this variable t, and t was earlier lower limit 0 and upper limit pi by 4. So if t is equal to 0, what will be the value of the new variable in that case? So if t is equal to 0, u will also be equal to 0, sine 0 is 0, and if t is equal to pi by 4, sine 2t will be equal to 1. So you can say that u is equal to 1. So while substituting the function with some other variable, at the same time we will also change the limit. So in that case we don't have to worry later on that we have to back substitute it. So here we have substituted, this is integral from 0 to 1 now, instead of 0 to pi by 4, this will become 1 by 2 u to the power 4 by 4, and this will be 0 to 1. Now we don't have to back substitute u as sine 2t because we have changed the limit. So this will become 1 by 2, put the value of u as 1, so it will be 1 by 4 minus 0, that will be 1 by 8. This will be your answer. So this is what we are trying to understand here, that there is two ways, and better is this one as it is less time taking. While you are changing the function with some variable, you also change the limits. So later on you don't have to back substitute and put the previous limits, right students? Let us take one more question to understand the application of second fundamental theorem of calculus. So here I am taking an integrand x e to the power x minus sine pi x by 4 integral from 0 to 1. So here we don't have to substitute anything, we have to directly integrate, but by some other method also. Okay. So first we will do 0 to 1 x e to the power x minus 0 to 1 sine pi x by 4, here also you have to put dx, here also you have to put dx. Further here you have to apply by parts because it is a product of two functions x and e to the power x. X is algebraic, e to the power x is exponential. So this will be v, this will be u, first function and then second function. So first function integral of second minus integral derivative of first will be 1 and integral of second will be same and total integral. So this will be 0 to 1 and this will be 0 to 1, and what about the another integral? So if you take sine pi x by 4 and you integrate that, what do you get? Since sine will be integrated to minus cos, so this will be plus cos pi x by 4 upon the coefficient of x, because this is a linear extension pi by 4, and this will be again 0 to 1. So in the next step what we will do, we will put the limit 0 and 1 here, we will get 1 into e minus 0, and here e to the power x will be integrated to e to the power x. So you write e to the power x from 0 to 1. Here when you will put the limit, what you will get students? This 1 will give you cos pi by 4 upon pi by 4 is there, of course, this is a constant. When you will put 0, minus cos 0, this is what you will get. So, we are just calculating now. So, this is e only, and here also e minus e to the power 0 is 1. So, this is minus again plus 1. What will happen here? Cos pi by 4 is 1 by root 2, and minus cos 0 is 1, and pi by 4 will become 4 by pi when you will take it in the numerator. So, this e and e cancels, 1 plus, here it becomes 1 minus root 2, and root 2 and 4 is 2 root 2 upon pi. So, this is the final answer which we get. So, here also we have used the second fundamental theorem of calculus, and indefinite integration mostly we will use second fundamental theorem of calculus. Now, in the next lecture we are going to study about the properties of definite integration. There are many properties and they are frequently used to find definite integration, where sometimes even you do not have to apply second fundamental theorem of calculus and you can get the answer directly, and in some cases partially you have to apply properties and partially you have to apply second fundamental theorem of calculus. So, we will see you in the next lecture, students. Thank you.